The gay road. Hello everyone, I was gone for a hot minute and a lot happened since then. I had my own personal Uncle Iroh arc. But now that I'm back, I figured I'd make a simpler video about video games. I talk about video games too. I'm Scott the Woz now. Deal with it. Scott the Web. Anyways, Mario Kart. Have you guys ever heard of this series before? I mean, it's pretty niche. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't really a system seller or anything. I love Mario Kart. You love Mario Kart. Stormy Daniels loves Mario Kart. I'm pretty sure most human beings have played or heard of Mario Kart before, so I don't think I need to explain what makes this series so successful. Instead, I'd like to take some time and talk about my personal favorite aspect of every game, sometimes Rainbow Road, the very last track at the end of every main cup, and since 1992, it's been a staple of the series. I mean, come on, everyone has their favorite version of Rainbow Road. Some prefer the SNES version, many prefer the Wii version, some weirdos even prefer the N64 version. But you're wrong, and I'll explain why. When you think of the final level in a grand racing adventure where you play as anal beads, what would you want the big finale to be like? For many, they'd want a big final challenge, a final test to prove their skills. Or lack thereof. And the very first incarnation of Rainbow Road does just that. Rainbow Road just felt like a stark contrast to the rest of the game. A magical road in space made of starbursts. It's obviously the most visually stimulating stage in the game, and the music is at its absolute peak. You can actually hear the little sparkles or twinkling stars in the music. You know, back in the day, this is what game soundtracks did to give the game a grander atmosphere. Dark Souls? Never heard of him. However, this track is also noteworthy for being a synonym for my balls. Very hard. Unlike every other track in the game, there are no barriers to stop you from falling off. And considering Super Mario Kart is kind of infamous nowadays for having really loose turning and especially drifting, it's very easy to slide off. Not to mention the thwomps scattered on the stage, which are relatively easy to avoid, but if you do get crushed, the animation for getting unflattened takes so long it's basically guaranteed you'll be going back a few places. Though to be honest, any troubles I have with this stage are more so problems I, and everyone else, has with Super Mario Kart in general. The turning is too loose. In 2D, it's hard to judge distances. DK Jr. is a character for some reason. However, you can't deny that SNES Rainbow Road is a classic, and it laid the foundation for some of my fondest memories in Mario Kart. If not with this version, hell no, I didn't deal with this garbage. I'm more so referring to the many different reimaginings of the Rainbow Road concept in future games. The mostly better versions. I suppose I might as well talk about the different variations of each stage while I'm here, which means I gotta talk about SNES Rainbow Road 3 more times. The GBA version of the stage is more or less the same, except the music is way worse. The Game Boy Advance was capable of making some really decent music, but the main melody is mixed way louder in this version than everything else, and it makes it sound more irritating to me. Also, the stage is smaller, like way smaller for some reason, and it still doesn't have any of the barriers. So combine that with Super Circuit also having really loose turning and drifting, and it led to a lot of this. Even if a pixel of your sprite so much as scrapes past the edge when you're making a tight turn, you'll end up falling off and recreating the opening to Toy Story 2. Yeah, it wasn't that fun to play. However, it did come back years later in Mario Kart 7, bringing it into 3D and making it objectively better. Look, don't get me wrong, I love me some 2D sprites, but for racing games, yeah, that fake 3D effect just doesn't work nearly as well as an actual 3D map. This version is probably my favorite. It's very faithful to the original map, the color scheme is very appealing, the stage is the correct size, and since it's a better game engine, you don't instantly fall off by glancing at the edge too hard. The music is also a wonderful modernized remix of the original. Those symbols, baby! Oh, by the way, this will not be the last time I praise Mario Kart 7's soundtrack because, oh man. Mario Kart 8's version of the stage is pretty good too. Firstly, it looks gorgeous because Well, Mario Kart 8 in general looks gorgeous. I know some people are upset that this version isn't as faithful to the original as they'd like it to be, well, with the stage being like a disco floor and the stage being set in the night sky background instead of in space. But personally, considering that this is the 4th version of this stage, and also how much 8 is flaunting its visual style, just porting the 7 version of this stage into HD would look jarring. I'm perfectly fine with them doing something different with this version, even if the music doesn't quite land as well. It's just not as effective in my opinion. Oh, by the way, this won't be the last time I criticize Mario Kart 8's soundtrack because... oh, jeez. But what if squares aren't really your style, and you hate angles, you big sinner? Well, for other players, Rainbow Road shouldn't really be a big final challenge, but instead a victory lap, a celebration of how far you've come while still being a fair, decent challenge. Mario Kart 64 did just that, and gave what many consider the most iconic and beloved Rainbow Road in the series. This is one of my least favorite Rainbow Roads in the entire series. I should probably preface my point by saying that in general, I don't like playing Mario Kart 64 that much. It is a great game, an incredible triumph in gaming history. I just hate playing it. I don't like how loose the drifting is and how stiff the turning is. It feels like often when I want to go left, it just nudges me to the right, leading to shit like this happening all the time. Yeah, that was a really fun thing to go through 17 times in this recording session. I don't like how heavy the characters are. I don't like that when you turn too fast in 150cc, you just spin out. And in general, this one just feels like the most awkward one to control for me. Maybe I'm just too used to how the modern games handle that I just can't adjust to this one that easily. That being said, this version of Rainbow Road isn't bad because I don't like the game. It's bad because it's fucking boring. The thing about the first Rainbow Road is that there were no barriers on the side, so it was really easy to fall off. This version has the opposite problem. The entire stage has barriers on the side, so unless you're actively trying to jump over the fence, or you just really suck, there's no real incentive to make your turns and drifts carefully. And aside from a few chain chomps on the stage, there aren't any obstacles. Couple that with this much more boring road texture and a very basic background with constellations that look like neon signs, and arguably the longest stage in the entire series, and we have a stage that feels like I'm driving down the world's longest freeway during Pride Month. 2 gay jokes in one video? I am very talented. At least the music is really good, as is most of the music in Mario Kart 64. But ultimately, I just don't have the nostalgia to enjoy this stage that much, despite being a technical marvel of the time. Honestly, I just vastly prefer the Mario Kart 8 rendition of this stage. Fuck you, Minnie, I know you're watching this. First of all, this went from pretty visually boring to arguably the most beautiful track in the entire game. It actually has a theme to it. That being Las Vegas bullshit. There's a healthy balance of rails and edges to fall off of. The background is way more lively and appealing, and while yes, it's way shorter than the original map, basically being a third in length, I'd personally much rather have a very visually pleasing stage that's too short than a boring stage that's just way too long. The music is also very well made. That Mario Kart 8 jazz sound complements the melody and high-paced tone of this track really well. Okay, moving on to the ones that I don't really have that much to say about. Super Circuit's Rainbow Road. It was actually way better than I thought it was gonna be for a not fun game. The color scheme is really cool, the background is nice, the music is upbeat, if not a bit simple. And I especially really liked these rails that acted like bounce pads. These allow for some really cool shortcuts and corner cuts, so it was just fun figuring out how to use them effectively, while still being an obstacle to avoid near the edge. Because if you drive too fast at them, you'll end up flying off of the stage. Really creative stuff. I liked it way more than I thought I was going to. Double Dash's Rainbow Road was fine, I guess. As much as I like Double Dash, this road was just sort of annoying to navigate sometimes, especially with the really heavy carts this game has. This big spiral had me constantly falling off and recreating that cutscene from Sonic Adventure 2.
Talk about a low-budget flight.
However, I do love the visuals, and it has one of my favorite Rainbow Road themes in the entire series. It's so iconic in my eyes. Also, Big Jump. DS, oh my god. This was my first ever Mario Kart game, and it has my heart and nostalgia engraved onto it forcefully. So I couldn't possibly bring myself to hate any stage from this game. That being said, while I do have a lot of fond memories of this stage, it's unfortunately one of the more typical Rainbow Roads in the series. The music is great. And these visuals are burned into my retinas, but aside from the loop-de-loops and the barrel rolls, yes, this is an actual barrel roll, internet memes be damned, there's nothing really that memorable about it. It's just a good version of the stage, but meh, I just don't have that much to say about it, honestly. Also, side note, I will forever be upset that they didn't bring back Airship Fortress into 8. The Bills were robbed. Now then, Mario Kart Wii's Rainbow Road. This is another one people consider the best in the series, and I can see why. It do be shiny though. In addition to this game selling more copies than the population of Saudi Arabia, it was many people's first game in the series, and thus a lot of people hold this stage in such high regard. Granted, I do really like this stage. It has a really iconic music track. These big holes and the tube in the middle are really memorable, and the fact that when you fall off, your cart gets surrounded by flames like it's burning up on re-entry is an amazing detail that I'm shocked was never done before. It's like that movie. Personally, however, it's a little overrated in my opinion. It's definitely a great stage, no doubt, but honestly, I just don't find it nearly as visually appealing as every other stage before this. It may just be a product of Mario Kart Wii's weird, shiny art style that I've never really been a big fan of, but this stage just feels like they took the bloom slider and cranked it up past the point it was necessary. Everything just looks way too shiny and kind of washed out to really appreciate the detail, and honestly, it was always one of my least favorite roads because of it. I'm a sucker for eye candy, what can I say? Playing it all these years later, it is really fun, and I do enjoy it a lot. But personally, when I look at this footage, it feels like I'm recording this gameplay with a really greasy phone camera in 2007. I actually kind of prefer the version of this stage from 8. They turned the bloom settings the fuck down so I can actually see the really beautiful color scheme. The track is still the same great level design, and I really like the remastered music. This feels like a proper remaster of one of the most famous stages from one of the most famous games in the series. However, while I like this incarnation of Rainbow Road a lot, it's nowhere near my favorite. None of the ones I've mentioned are. And if you have any basic reading skills, then you already know which one is my favorite. So, allow me to introduce Peak. Not only my favorite Rainbow Road, but my favorite Mario Kart track of all time. I need you all to listen to me very carefully when I say this. If given the choice to become Jeff Bezos and have $1 billion in my pocket, or play this stage, I would become Jeff Bezos. So I could spend all of my money into engineering a way to insert myself into this game and drive around this stage with my own 2 hands. I am confident in saying this is Mario Kart at its absolute best. And I'm not just saying that because this was my second Mario Kart game ever. Even nostalgic memories aside, Mario Kart 7's Rainbow Road is one of my favorite things ever put on the 3DS. And that thing had Wreck-It Ralph, the video game! The visuals are top notch. Even for a 3DS game, this looks so wonderful. The background is so detailed, and it looks like the space in this game has a lot of depth and detail. instead of just occasional white dots on a black background. Not to mention, you can see there are so many details all over the place, like the little asteroids everywhere, the rainbow arrows which are only in this stage, the rockets that successfully landed out here. Now that's how you know this is unrealistic. There's so much vibrant detail that makes this feel bigger than it actually is. Couple that with how this stage is structured compared to the other roads of Rainbow. Not counting 8's version of N64 Rainbow Road, this is the only version that doesn't loop around all 3 laps, but instead, each lap is a different section of this giant obstacle course. You know, no, this doesn't feel like an obstacle course. This feels like an adventure in the way it's structured. Each new turn feels like something new will appear and surprise you. And since it doesn't loop around, no obstacle nor set piece ever get old when playing. At times, it honestly feels like a Mario Galaxy type of enchantment. And if I'm comparing you to Mario Galaxy, you're doing something right. But let's be real here. The reason why this stage feels so unbelievable to play at times is the music. The fucking music. Have you been listening to the music in the background? You better have. What in the name of Miyamoto's severed testicles it was that Kenta Nagata and or Satomi Terui were ingesting when they made this piece? But give me some of that right now. This theme has so many layers that I could genuinely get lost trying to figure out every instrument they used that I never noticed before. But it never feels overwhelming. It's like a mechanical alien orchestra conducting your ceremony to the great beyond, and it's going crazy. The way this song uses chord progression is utterly transcendent. Listen to how the song tells a story of its own. It starts off low in the chord and it grows slightly higher. Then in the next section, it rockets up higher and higher, inviting you to explore this galaxy more and more. Until it leaps into the upper notes and shows you progression and excitement that you ain't ready for, son. Then in the next verse, it repeats the same melody just in a higher octave, showing how this journey just won't stop rising until we've seen every star in the solar system. But then, we take a breather and visit the moon, and get a complete finale that feels reflective of everything we've been through, and how we're moving to a new uncharted territory, but we'll take it with stride. Also, this third verse is a musical callback to Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road, and I cannot believe these geniuses actually did this. But this N64 callback plays when the big chain chomps from N64 Rainbow Road return as obstacles. It's like a visual callback on top of an audio callback. I genuinely cannot fathom the level these deities were on when crafting this. The third lap speeds up the final verse of the track, and it's structured like one big final stretch towards the end, dodging asteroids and taking these speed boosts, and at the point when the song emotionally peaks before looping back to the start, is the point when you make a big drive upwards towards the sun, and it's so fucking good. It's like you're driving towards the heavens. I cannot believe this track is as good as it is.
Damn, this is so good!
Anyways, in summary, this one's okay, I guess. In all seriousness, while I adore this stage so much, I can't lie with you, the Mario Kart 8 version of this stage is really disappointing in comparison. The colors aren't nearly as vibrant, a lot of the fun details are lost in translation, and the music is just lame in comparison. It doesn't feel like a grand adventure and more like a YouTube nightclub remix. I still can't hate this version of the stage because of how much fun it is to play, but yeah, a lot of the magic is just gone. You know what, while I'm on the topic of 8 being disappointing, going from 7's Rainbow Road to 8's Rainbow Road is like going from chocolate Lucky Charms to oops, all cornflakes. This is my least favorite Rainbow Road in the entire series. Honestly, it hardly feels like a Rainbow Road to begin with. I get that they wanted to do something different with the whole space satellite setting and whatnot, but it's just not really Rainbow Road. The colors are really muted. The only real memorable set piece was the swapping directional pads, and the music, while okay, is far from my favorite Rainbow Road theme. It honestly just feels like a satellite stage that had the rainbow slapped onto it. But then again, if I was the younger brother of Jesus Christ, I'd have a hard time following up his legacy too. So what was the point of this video? Well, honestly, I just wanted to gush about Mario Kart 7 for a second. This game is kind of slept on in all honesty. It was sandwiched in between its much more successful sister and its more high-definition brother. Why am I giving video games gender? But looking back, it has a lot of the most creative stage design and level themes in the entire series, and its version of Rainbow Road had so much thought put into it that I just had to talk about it. Especially since it's the version of Rainbow Road I've kept in the back of my mind for a very long time, but not many others seem to talk about in detail. It's honestly inspired how much work went into a single track. Frankly, the same could all be said about every other version of Rainbow Road. I mean, the concept is iconic for a reason, and even the weakest ones have created value in their own way. Even N64 Rainbow Road. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people like N64 Rainbow Road, but my friend Minnie is watching this video and I'm just trying to annoy him. Maybe the lesson of this video is that big things come in small packages? Because the 3DS was a small system and yeah. Oh wait, I didn't talk about the other versions of Rainbow Road. There's like a bunch more. Okay, Mario Kart Tour's SNES Rainbow Road is more or less just 7's version, just on a mobile phone and worse. The arcade game has its own Rainbow Cup apparently, and it's basically just one perfectly fine version of the stage. I like that it goes into space and then a weird cloud land, that's kinda neat. F-Zero X. Okay, apparently F-Zero X on the N64 had its own unlockable version of Rainbow Road, and it has its own rockin' version of N64 Rainbow Road's music. I mean, considering it's F-Zero, you'll probably be flying over most of it, but I like it more than Mario Kart 64's version. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop bashing it. Okay, I think that's it. Oh wait, the Mario Kart 7 Rainbow Road in Smash Bros 3DS is cool too. I really don't think you're racing on it, and also Cloud Strife is there, but it's my favorite version of Rainbow Road in Smash. I like it. Super Mario Galaxy 2, I don't know if this one even counts, but there's a stage called Rainbow Road Roll. They play the Mario 64 slide theme and not the Rainbow Road theme. These levels control like ass. Mario Hoops 3-on-3. There's a version of Rainbow Road in this game apparently for one of the side missions, and it should be called Rainbow Court because my man Moogle be dribbling on these hoes. Paper Mario Color Splash. Okay, this one definitely doesn't count, right? You don't even play it. It's just a reference in one of the cutscenes, but Luigi is there. I like Luigi. Did you notice that I've been exclusively playing as Luigi in the footage earlier? The Super Mario Bros. Movie by Illumination, and you know, the best thing about this road is how fun it is to control. I mean, just look at me go. I'm shocked I even got this footage. This is insane. I'm not a speedrunner, but God, if I was, I would definitely. Oh no, it's a blue shell. That's insane. Oh no, he blew up the track. Am I funny yet? Okay, is that it? Am I done here? It Takes Two, the indie game by Haze Light Studios, published by EA, and the winner of the 2021 Game of the Year Award.
I don't get it. How many more versions of Rainbow Road can there possibly be? How many more rainbows am I gonna see before I get a seizure? Get out of my life, you filthy demon! I'm waiting with you. I'm waiting with you.
That didn't go anywhere.
No one will ever know you were here. No one will ever find you.